I'm Dr. Erica Bove, and welcome to the Love and Science podcast. I'm your host, and also the founder of Love and Science, Thriving Through Infertility. I'm so excited you're here today. With over a decade of experience helping thousands of women just like you, I empower professional women to build their families with confidence and compassion. Let's dive in. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the Love and Science podcast. I am just so excited and honored to have one of my friends and colleagues, Dr. Chrissie Ott, come today and be our guest as we talk about all things fertility. She is a physician coach, which, as you know, in my world, just like really close to home, right? Because I think we need strong, beautiful physician coaches who are healing our world. And she also has a long fertility journey herself, which she has so generously offered to share with us. So I think, please listen, because I know what she has to say will resonate deeply. And I just want to share some of her accolades by way of introduction. So Dr. Chrissie Ott, she has her MD. Like I said before, she is a physician coach. She's also the founder of Joy Point Solutions. And she's also the host of the Solving for Joy podcast, which I was sort of grateful to be a guest on that podcast. She's the leader of the Physician Coaching Summit, which I'm hoping to go to in November. So please stay tuned. But just to give an even more detailed sort of introduction, she is a double board certified Med Peds doctor. So that means that she is double board certified as an internist and as a pediatrician, which, as we know on the fertility journey, anytime we're working with children, it can be very difficult. And she is the human behind the Joy Point Solutions, a space for people doing meaningful work to reconnect with what lights them up. I will also share that we had a very joyful moment right before we hopped on, because she has a tradition of helping people ground themselves before, and we were dancing and singing, and it was so much fun. So I'm grateful. Just her presence creates joy. She helps clients untangle from burnout, come home to their values, and reclaim delight in both their lives and their leadership. And her podcast is amazing. I can't say enough about it. And she really is in this world as a healing force to help us all continue to do the work that we do in a way that continues to give us life instead of steal it. So, Dr. Chrissie, it's so wonderful to have you here today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I am an enormous fan of Dr. Erica Bove, Love and Science Fertility. I said this on our previous podcast recording, but if I had a time machine and I could send you back to myself from about 15 years ago, oh, what a benefit that would have been. So I'm so grateful for you in the world doing this work, supporting people in what can be one of the most difficult chapters of our life. So I'm
Absolutely.
so happy to
And
be here with you.
I'm so happy that you're here. And on your website, I was looking at it before we hopped on. It like talks about where we're stuck, right? And I think about, those of us who are physician coaches, it's usually born out of some struggle that we have had that, it's sort of the wounded healer. It's like, well, how can we then take what we've learned and continue to give back and help people? And so I would love to hear a little bit before we, dive into your fertility journey, just a little bit about what motivated you to become a coach and the work that you're doing like in this moment in the world.
Absolutely. I would love to share. Um, yes, one of my inner mantras is may no suffering go untransformed. If we're going
Wow.
to go through something difficult, let us find the gems inside that cave so that we can bring them back out to our people. Like, may they be of benefit, may they not be for naught. So, I came to medicine having been a professional dancer and a massage therapist and a Pilates instructor. So, I
Oh,
kind
wow.
of came with a wellness infrastructure and came to medicine thinking, oh, this space is not good, like so healthy. I kind of want to like actually bring some stuff to it as well as learn the art and science of medicine. And so I actually formed my first wellness group called the Wellness Advocates my first year of medical school. And, well-being work has just been in my DNA since then, like with different levels of expression at different periods of time. Um, but I've been through my own cycles of burnout. And while I was leading well-being work in my organization, we were able to get 300 clinicians through a 12-week coaching program that transformed lives and careers. And around that same time, I was just like, oh, coaching is my future. I have no idea what that means. At the time, I was just like, I just feel the yes in my body, and I do not intellectually understand what I will do with this. But I didn't have to because the universe worked it out for me.
That is so beautiful. So, I don't think I realized this before. You actually went in with eyes, I don't want to say wide open, but mostly open because you were like, whoa, like this place is already messed up. And I think I have something to contribute. Whereas so many of us go in and we're like, sort of rose colored glasses. And then we're like, whoa, 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 what the heck is going on here? Right. So you had that foresight and you're like, I might have something to bring to this universe.
Absolutely. I mean, they might have been naive or even maybe like arrogant, I would say, potentially like reformer vibes,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
naive and uh a little bit egoic perhaps, but also like true to my mission. Like I just needed to bring it. I just didn't have it all developed yet at, 20 something years old.
That's
But God
amazing.
bless her, right? She was like, I'm
What'd you
here
say?
for it. I
God
said,
bless
God
you.
bless her.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we need some of that youthful energy, spirit, no matter how old we are, to be like, I can change the world. Because if you look at who really has, these big movements over time and people who have really given and transformed, it's usually this combination of contemplation and action, right? We contemplate and we sort of have this awareness of like what's going on and how can I contribute with my unique gifts, and then acting. I mean, that's the beautiful thing is an acting in the world, and then like you said, your own cycles of burnout, like as we keep going, it's like, okay, how can we continue to fill the well so that we can continue to give it? Because the more we transform, the more transformation still can happen. And it's like this beautiful cycle of expansion.
Like a chain reaction. And
Yeah.
the words that just dropped in my brain are like, you kind of have to have a little bit of idiotic optimism to do
Right.
this work. And I do not mean idiotic to be insulting either to myself or to anyone else in well-being work in medicine. I just am like, the rational brain would find this idiotic, but the fire inside is like, oh no, this is how I will spend my time. It
That is
is
so
that
beautiful.
important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
beautiful. And I'm so glad that you're doing this work. And so tell us, so today in this moment, the work that you're doing with coaching, I want to make sure that our listeners can hear about that because so many of my people are trying to, burn the candle at all of the ends, right? This three-dimensional candle we have and just trying to work as physicians and undergo these fertility treatments. Like tell us what you're doing in this moment in time.
Absolutely. So my coaching work is inside Joy Point Solutions, and I work one-on-one in this hybrid coaching model where we do some group calls and we do one-on-one work. As long as people actually want to do this work. And I've been doing that in this model for a couple of years. It was inspired by my experience with the 300 clinicians that went through 12-week program where there were small groups and there was didactic learning and there was one-on-one. And I found that the combination of those things was so grounding because the group work actually helps us realize it's not about me. I'm not the only one suffering here. I
Mhm.
actually can see my experience validated in other people who I admire, other people who I thought maybe had it all together and were exempt from this particular flavor of suffering. So there's so much importance in that validation. And then the didactic part is like there is actually so much to learn and unlearn. And coaches have been immersing themselves in that and often find new and unique ways to language that. And when you are a physician, it is a little bit challenging to find what you need in a coaching relationship that is not somebody who knows and has walked the walk. Not impossible. There are many beautiful coaches for physicians who are not physicians, but in my opinion, that commonality helps us to suspend our disbelief and step into this co-creative therapeutic relationship that is not therapy. Um,
Mhm.
to expand and explore our own creative wisdom, to find our own internal compass and take small steps toward the life that we actually want for ourselves, the one that has time freedom, that has values alignment, action alignment, and enough white space to enjoy what we've created.
Mic drop. I mean, that sounds so familiar because that is like exactly what I am trying to do at Love and Science, right? Is to give people back their freedom. And I think freedom means something a little different to each person, but I think there's these commonalities that persist. And I wanted to sort of transition to talk a little bit about the fertility journey because that is a space where sometimes it's really hard to feel free. It's really hard to feel like there's a direction. It can feel very disorienting. And I'm really on a mission to help women professionals, mostly physicians are the women who find me to work with me, to help them find freedom even in the face of uncertainty and not knowing how it will all turn out. And I trust that a lot of the work that you're doing now had its ceilings and maybe foundation in some of what you learned on your fertility journey, right? Like, yeah, obviously your experience in medicine, but also that giant experience in your life that spanned like over a decade. Did you? I mean, it just sounds like it was really, really giant in your life. So, if you would be
So
so
huge.
generous, I'd love to understand a little bit more about like how you found yourself in this situation, what you tried, what worked, what didn't work, and I'd love to hear your story for the Love and Science group.
Yes, it would be my pleasure to share. And you know, as as I reach out through these sound waves to people who are in the midst of this journey, I just first of all, my heart is with you.
Mm.
First of all, my heart is with you. It is so real what you are going through, whether you have had pregnancy losses, whether you have had just trouble getting pregnant versus staying pregnant, whether you have had conflict with loved ones about it, my heart is with you. Um, it is so hard. It's another one of those situations where there almost has to be a bit of um, irrational hope, And so I carried irrational hope for years and years. And so if your intuition, if your inner voice says that you are a parent who is not yet connected with their child, I am here
Mm.
to validate that with and for you, and then just add my voice to the chorus of people who are rooting for you. May it be
Thank you
so.
so much. Yeah, maybe so. There's so many people listening here in the thick of it right now. And
May it be
so
so.
maybe so. That is right.
Yeah. So, one first thing to know is that I'm married to a woman. And so, our primary fertility challenge was that there's no sperm in our relationship. However, I have had a previous accidental pregnancy in my early 20s that did not grow to be a human. And I thought, oh, well, that was just a one off oopsie. So I should be very fertile. My mom had 5 children. My grandmother had 9 children. I'm like, we got this, right? So we decided immediately after we got married in 2005 to start trying for a pregnancy. And we tried with a close relative of my wife's, thinking DNA link, beautiful, amazing. Um, this person was totally on board, loved both of us, was like, I'd love to support you in this way. Like, probably did not understand all the implications of how weird that would be in the future, but the yes was so, so kind and so, so sweet and so, so there. So we went to a hotel, we rented a room. Oh my gosh, I brought a speculum. Don't ever give your partner a speculum unless they have been trained in speculum use, my friend.
Oh
Okay,
dear.
there's so many like dark comedy moments along the way. I hope I can and like do them justice as I tell the dark story of these years. So anyway, we inseminated in a hotel room. We all high-fived, and we popped a bottle of champagne. I propped my legs up on the wall, and we were like, "Got this! Like done." I was like strategically planning to try to have this baby at the very end of residency. So this was like we were in the zone. We were in like just the right time frame. So spoiler alert, we did not get pregnant the very first time we tried. And then we proceeded to do at-home insemination with the same donor in various comical situations, including camping. We had this very special tent off away from the others. We had appearances of my beloved donor at the NICU call room in the hospital because that's when I was ovulating, was I was on call at
Wow.
NICU. So, I mean, can you imagine? We did it at his apartment. We did it at our apartment. I mean, like there were so many hilarious things. And he would come out with this, I had like a urine sample cup from the hospital, and he'd come out and he'd hold it up to the light like it was Simba and go, ah. Like, and we would both be sort of like low-key gagging, like, oh, gross. Anyway, I think we did, like maybe 8 months. I can't the details are a little foggy now, but this was all the way back in 2005. Our
Mhm.
our child was born in 2013, so that's how long this journey was. When we stopped trying, at that point, it was like, okay, now we're outside the zone. I would be potentially having this baby after we move across the country for my first attending job. So let's take a pause. So we came back to it, after we had taken a little break. And then we were like, okay, so we're no longer going to be doing home inseminations like that. We're going to now go to a sperm bank. And then we had the whole experience of trying to pick out a donor from a sperm bank, which if you have not ever had to do that, let me tell you, you are choosing sperm based on fairly superficial factors about the donor, which feels weird. I mean, we are attracted to people based on their appearance, their personality, their vibes. And so sometimes you get to listen to an interview. Sometimes you always will get some family history and educational history. And that was a whole like side adventure of like looking through these online catalogs and like saving this favorite or that favorite. And my wife is Mexican American. And so we were looking for a Latino donor. And then like there were specifics about like this Latino donor is, um, Puerto Rican and this one is Dominican. And we were like, it's not the same thing. Anyway, we had many, many laughs and just poignant moments along this way. We even took the classic baby pictures with the nitrogen tank in the back seat, buckled in. I mean, we were keeping joy alive because again, like this was still like maybe 2007, 8. We didn't
Mhm.
know we were still going to be on the ship for like 5 more years
Right, right.
or more. Um, so after the first few didn't work at home, we went to IUIs.
Mm.
Now, I know most of you have probably had IUIs. I'm going to bet that not many of you have had 17 IUIs.
No.
And nobody recommended that. That was my irrational hope. That was also my perseverance. That was also my stubbornness. Um, we had IUIs at home with a naturopath. We had IUIs, of course, in the office when we finally connected with a fertility doc. Oh my gosh, there was this one moment we were still in Houston. We saw a fertility clinic for the first time, and the nurse came in and told us we were pregnant based on my urine
Oh.
screen. She had mixed up the freaking rooms.
Oh no.
I know. Can you imagine?
No.
That we had the whole surge of like all of the neurotransmitters and endorphins and like, oh my God, are we even ready for this? It was like being told we were accidentally pregnant, right? When we've been trying, it was like, what? Anyway, that was an interesting moment.
Absolutely awful.
Um, yeah. So we did the IUIs, we did a variety of IUIs. We did more than anybody would recommend, and we finally went, okay, we will do IVF. So we did our first IVF cycle in 2011. Those numbers that you're focused on right now, people, my friends, those numbers, how many eggs, what
Mhm.
your dose of hormones were, you know, whether you did other fertility enhancing, like oral meds to enhance ovulation beforehand.
Mhm.
I've forgotten all of them. I just want you to know that someday these things that feel like you will never stop knowing those numbers,
Mm.
they finally go away. I mean, not that I was wanting them to go away. I just can't believe that I don't remember
Right.
anymore.
Right.
Like how many eggs were harvested, how many fertilized, how many grew to blastocyst. I actually am not confident of those numbers. I think, at the end of the day, we only had one that was one or two that were implantable out of our first cycle. And so we implanted them, and one of them
Mm,
did grow. And when we went for our 6 week ultrasound, there was no heartbeat. Was
so sorry.
and it was we'd have really good HCG numbers rising, so it was a gut punch. It was severely disorienting.
Mm.
I was supposed to go from that ultrasound to the hospital to round on two newborns,
Oh,
twin.
ah,
That was not this couple's first child. And I called the hospitalist team and said, please, can you round? I cannot,
yeah.
I cannot right now. And I got covered, and that was wonderful. I remember I had a night shift that night, and I had to call and say, I'm having a miscarriage. I can't work tonight. And I don't know that any loss in my whole life has been that crushing,
Mm,
but it's invisible, except that it wasn't. For us, we were, I'm an external processor, and our struggle was our hobby, our passion, our everything. So many people do not choose to share their journey, but we shared it with a lot of people. We have a big community. We're both very social humans. And so there was none of this waiting till, the end of first trimester to share. We were like, no, we were in the irrational hope, idiotic optimism side of things. So everybody knew we were pregnant with IVF, like almost everybody, which meant we had to tell almost everyone
ah,
that moment, um, that was really, really hard. And I'm going to take a little side journey here, because the worst part of this, in and I think that's true. I mean, losing our pregnancy was horrendous, but we were super close to two couples. Like, they had lived in our house when they were waiting for their house to be ready. Like, we have put
mm,
up fences with them, like every holiday together, like chosen family.
chosen family, yeah.
Every Friday dinner, like we were as tight as people can be in
Mm,
my, that was my experience of the relationship. And both of these couples espoused they did not want children at the time, so they did not have a deep understanding of our fertility journey. But our thought was that they supported us because they loved us, and when you love somebody, you want for them what they want for themselves, as long as it's healthy, right? Well, it turned out that they had been befuddled or confused or in judgment about our journey for a lot of the way. And when we lost this pregnancy, um, they didn't know how to be there. I had my own manual for them as,
mm,
best friends, that they, like, the correct way to support us was to show up on our doorstep at whatever time you got off work, with hugs and maybe a bottle of wine and some Cheetos, and
mm,
like, you stay and hold space. That's how
right,
I would want that supported. Bring food, hold space, right?
right, right, right.
Um, and they were not able to do that, I think, because they felt so conflicted and in judgment. And I am doing some educated guessing, but also some, like, I can't be in their brain.
Right.
I think that they're good people. I think that they had confusion. I think they were really focused on how much of our energy was focused on getting pregnant. They probably had thoughts like, why don't you just adopt? Which
Hmm.
is, it's a beautiful way to make a family. But until that is your impetus, that is your inspiration, it is not appropriate to
Hmm.
suggest of,
Exactly.
right? It's just not, that's not a helpful thing. Everybody knows it exists. They will reach for it when it is their time, if it becomes their time ever.
Right.
Not a solution to um, what we're feeling when we're in the midst of a fertility journey directly. You know. Anyway, what evolved from there was, we received so much support, and a lot of people asked, how can you help? And this was 2011. It was before GoFundMe was a thing. But I wrote a letter to my community in response to all the outpouring of love,
Mm,
and, shared a little bit about the the experience, it was hard to do. And because people asked, how can we help? I shared, part of this has been the financial devastation of it. I mean,
Mm,
when all is said and done, friends, we spent $70,000 out of pocket. And a, that's modest today. So it was kind of like a GoFundMe. It was like, if you feel called, this is one way that you could
right,
support.
right.
And for me, it was a super vulnerable growth step to actually open myself to receiving. It,
Mm,
it was a different choice than I would have made before that experience changed me. I was aligned with that growth. I felt like I am consciously opening myself to receive. So it
mm.
was a vulnerable thing, is what I'm really
Yeah, receiving
saying.
is very vulnerable. It really
It
is.
was
Yeah.
very tender. Um, what poured into that space was, $20 here, $50 here. Another couple who we were like in a loving friendship with, but not that close. We're like, we were gonna buy a new television, we're gonna wait, and like here's $300 for
Oh,
you.
oh
Like
my gosh.
exactly,
Like just really, really
exactly.
generous and humbling and like,
Like
wow.
I like prostrate on the floor humbling. So
Right.
touching. Every tiny gesture made us feel the people behind us, made us feel touched. Literally, like they had our backs, they had our shoulders.
Right.
They were like, we love you. We see you as parents. We want this for you.
Oh,
And here's a
beautiful.
tiny bit of energy to like
Mhm,
boost your sales, right?
mhm.
My sweet two couple friends felt so conflicted they could not participate. Like they couldn't even drop a 20 on it because they felt that
Oh,
would have been like out of integrity for them.
oh,
And then I learned later on that they also were like having thoughts about like the fact that we had purchased a really nice car in the months before. Like we traded in two not so nice cars to get a nice car because we needed one
mm,
goddamn thing to go well for us. It was like, can I please just have one thing
right,
that is reliable and a yes for me?
right,
And we
right.
bought an Audi, guys. It was like my dream car to have an Audi Q5. It was so, so special to us. And the fact that we were getting so, so judged by the people closest to us who had the first row seat in our,
Yeah,
um, in our experience was like, oh, that's
yeah.
so harsh.
I don't think it matters at all. I mean, I mean, thanks for sharing all the details, but like, I don't think it matters at all what kind of car it was. It was just
Does
the lack of support, the judgment. Like,
that.
so here's the thing. Like, and I know you know this intimately, and so many of my this is one of the things I coach on the most is like the unsupportive friend, the friend who might be well-meaning but just can't get on board and says insensitive things, and it's just like so painful all the time. And when we have a judgmental space, it is not a safe space. Like those two cannot coexist. And so what I'm hearing you say is that your safe space has actually expanded in many ways. And when it became clear that this like these chosen family, as many of us for various reasons find, even our actual family sometimes that there's judgments and things like that was no longer a safe space for you. So then how did you navigate that piece of it? How did you protect yourselves to keep going, to honor yourselves in the context of this very uh like horrible and sad situation?
We lived in heartbreak.
Ah, grief,
We
grief.
lived in heartbreak. I
Oh,
had my first and maybe only like actual panic attack. I remember
oh,
waking up. I remember the morning. It was August 1st. Like I probably will never forget the date because I woke up to this letter. And we'd had a couple letter exchanges, email exchanges, trying to work it out. There were like, I had accusations for them. They had accusations for us. And
right.
one of the partners did not want to communicate by in writing, and so I think that it was an offense to them
Mhm.
that there wasn't anyway. So I received an email that said, basically this ends our friendship. Here's how to return our key.
Oh,
Like that was it. That was my like moment, and the place that I went in my own like constitution was I got so soft and tender. I mean, I had a little panic attack. I had a heartbreak. I feel like this friendship loss was the size of a divorce. Um,
mm,
we live 2 doors down from one of the couples still, and we're like friendly neighbors, but we used to be,
Mhm.
the best of friends. It's fine now. It's been many years, but it was just like having the rug pulled out in such
Mm,
a way. It gave me deep compassion for other people's pain in
mhm.
relationship and relationship loss. I
Right.
just wanted to protect the whole world from this kind of heartbreak. That was like my generative response. And I got a tattoo that is here and it says, after the final
Oh,
no, there comes a yes. And on that yes, the future world depends.
oh wow. I can see it. It's so
Um,
beautiful.
and my wife got a beautiful tattoo on her leg that is this hiking scene that says, a long road makes for a patient heart.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we just let it change us.
Right.
Is what
Right.
I would say. Like, we just let it freaking change us permanently. We
Mm,
surrendered. We also did things that I don't love. Like, there were friends, like, there was like collateral damage. It was like, ooh, if you are going to be close with them, I don't feel I can be close with you.
right.
Um, I don't think that I would describe that as the most mature choice, but it is what I had at the time. And that's
Yeah.
what I feel about them, like I refuse to think of them as like bad other. I think that's what they had at the time, and it
Right.
wasn't adequate to stay related.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that like you were trying to carve out your safe space, and being in a relationship with anybody associated with them was not going to be safe for you. And I mean, it makes total
I want to
sense.
say, oh,
And
it's so painful.
also, and we've talked before about energy work. Like, I know that you did a lot of energy work as it pertains to the fertility journey. Like,
Yeah,
I think that when we have a toxic job or a toxic friendship, or we have, maybe a parent who's not supportive, we have to really honor our experience of that and say, like, this is not serving me. This is not serving my fertility journey. This is not a safe space. I cannot be fully myself in this context. I'm not at my highest vibration in this context, and my greatest good will not come to me in this context. Like, I just think that we have to be somewhat unapologetic. And I say that understanding that there can be tremendous guilt associated with these decisions, but we have to do what's best for us in these times. And I think your story really does. Obviously, it was not easy to make the decisions that you did, but you had to do that to move forward. It's clear to me.
yeah. Yes, I think seeing it from like a bird's eye view now, I needed to clear our surroundings of any ambivalence. There was
Yes.
ambivalence towards our journey. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
the answer is no thank you to ambivalence when we are like waist deep in the muck of an infertility battle. And I don't really love like framing it as a battle most of the time, but in the moment, that's where it was. Like all my therapy sessions were about my identity in infertility and my shaking my fist at the sky and rounding on newborns, healthy newborns being born to, substance abuse
Mm-hmm.
moms and having like, they have their own stories. They're separate from mine. I had to close my primary care practice to newborns, except for those that were born to existing families, because I
Mm-hmm.
could not do it anymore. I was in judgment of every decision somebody else made that I didn't feel aligned with because I just wanted my own damn turn.
Right.
Just wanted my own day. I felt entitled to it. I felt deserving of it. I felt like I put in what
Yeah.
I should have to put in. Like all of these painful thoughts around shoulds and deserving and entitlement were lit up in my brain and body
Mm.
system. And yes, so much energy work. I mean, hands-on energy work, distance work, psychic readings, so much acupuncture, a trip to Peru with multiple ceremonies with shamans
Mm-hmm.
that I feel like were an instrumental part of us getting there. Every single elimination diet one could possibly
Mm-hmm.
imagine.
I'm sure.
Um, off caffeine, on caffeine, off alcohol, off sugar. Like, God, the neuroses can take us so far down that road. I remember um, doing an IUI once and then eating so much pineapple afterwards because there's like a rumor that
Right.
pineapple will break down the lucidum pellet. Yes, I know. The REI is shaking her head. She's
All
like,
the things. If you could see
bless
my face
you.
right now, the now it's like the beet juice and the like this and that, and it's just like The things we tell ourselves. But you were quote unquote compliant. I mean, you did every single thing that was there was any suggestion to do that would make this better for you. Yeah,
Here's the
I hear
ultimate.
you.
Okay, after the Peru trip, which I'm not poo-pooing any of this, by the way, but
Right, right,
the
right.
most interesting slash crazy things that we did after our ceremonies in Peru was that the shamans gave me a concoction to drink, which was 12 raw jungle eggs in a 2-liter soda bottle, about a half bottle of wine, lemon juice, uh-huh,
Mm.
a fox's tooth. Yes, a fox's tooth.
I'm absorbing this right now.
And a Icaro, which is the like energetic medicine in song. So there was
Wow.
like energy like sung into this concoction to kind of like bring it the intention. I was
Mm,
to drink this like wine and raw egg mixture 3 times a day. And we were at the end of our trip, so I actually had to like smuggle it into my satchel back into the States, which is basically a big no-no. But I was compliant as long as I could until I was like back at the hospital doing a night shift. And not to get too graphic, but let's just say most people would have given me an IV during my shift if
salmonella.
they knew what was going on with my body.
Oh, you
And I
think
was like, oh,
salmonella? Do you
I
think? Probably.
most
Yeah.
likely
Yeah.
somnolent friends.
TBD. Maybe
Um,
never.
like it
That sounds
stopped
awful,
after.
Chrissy.
I
Sounds
mean,
absolutely awful.
this is the level of willingness,
Right.
even in a
Yes.
scientist's brain. Okay. Like the suspension of disbelief slash desperation was as high as I can imagine it going.
Hmm.
Like I would have done leeches. Like what?
I no, it's clear to me. I mean, it's clear to me. So wow. So then so you did every single thing and then some that could have been done, and it still was not happening. Is that this is what I'm hearing?
So it
Catch me
happened.
up to the fertility journey. Yes.
Yeah. So after our trip to Peru, I think we had been inseminating with a new, fresh donor at home for 3 months. We had decided intuitively, like, actually, this technology is not what we need.
Hmm.
Our primary struggle is lack of fresh sperm, who is a donor that would engage in this project with us. And we connected with a beautiful, dear friend who said yes to us and would come over every other day during my fertility window and make a donation in our
Hmm.
guest room. We'd be like, okay, wipe your history on the iPad. We don't want to see that. It was so
That's
funny. And then
so funny.
he would tell us, like, oh, now I'm Pavlovian trained. Like, I start to parallel park in front of your house and I began to get an erection. He's like, it's going to be awkward at dinner parties in the future.
I just
So,
need a few minutes.
I mean, this man was so selfless. I should also say that at one point we put an ad on Craigslist and met some people who were willing, but they were 100% creepy. It was
Yeah, you got to
100%
be
creepy.
careful. Yeah, and I
Do
mean,
not recommend. Do
I
not
think you were
recommend.
in one of our previous conversations. You were asking about like 2025 and what's happening, and now there's different organizations that do facilitate this in ways that are in accordance with guidelines.
Uh,
And so we have evolved. It's not quite there. I spent even last week an inordinate amount of time trying to sort out something for a queer couple. Anyway, we are getting better, and yet it sounds like this wonderful man came into your lives. He was willing, you were receptive and open, and tell me more. So then what happened?
so it was our 10th cycle with him. It was about 6 cycles after the Peru trip that we got pregnant with Isa, our now 11 and a half-year-old daughter. Um,
Mm,
and the pregnancy was smooth and the birth was, I was 41 by this time. We had started when I was 32 or 33.
wow.
Um, but I had her at 41 and she's here and she's safe. She was a C-section baby. I was like, you know what, whatever at this point, take her. Get this baby safely out of me.
Yeah.
Like I could not have that existential moment of relief until I had that little girl in my arms.
Mm-hmm. That makes total sense.
And we began to try for a second with our same donor, and we were yeah, able to get pregnant 2 more times, but neither of those stayed around.
I'm
So
so
we had
sorry.
we had additional. pregnancies after Isa, but we lost two more pregnancies.
Mm.
And so the fertility journey extended, a couple of years longer.
Mm.
And, we really thought we would have two kids at some point. But um, I want to say for me, the existential pain of not getting to the first child, like the one that makes me quote unquote a mom, a parent, right? Versus having the second, there was a qualitative difference um, in
Mhm.
grieving that loss because there was not a full on identity attached to the loss. I'm still a mom.
Right.
Um, not to, devalue future losses, but just that's an important part of my experience.
Right. No, and thank you for sharing that. I wasn't aware of that part of your journey. I don't think it came up before. And just
Right.
thinking about, we grieve the loss of each pregnancy loss, right?
Yes.
So every time it happens, there's the rise of the emotions, the sadness, the how do I resolve this damn thing? Like it's just like, do I wait? Do I take meds? Do I take, do surgery, all the things. And
Hmm.
then it happens again. And then so it's grieving the loss of each pregnancy and then grieving the loss of the family that you saw, and back in the day, when you envision your family, there is an identity piece there, I think. What I'm hearing you say is that it was a sort of in perspective to the former.
Yeah.
It sort of paled in comparison, although I also just want to honor how painful that also must have been to go through that and to grieve that and to be like, okay, well, here we are. And then menopause happens. That's another grief and everything. Well, maybe it hasn't happened. I don't know. I'm doing the math.
Yes. No, it
Yeah.
has happened. It has happened. And then my child would ask me as a young one for another sibling, and like
And that is so painful, right? You're
it was
like,
the tenderness of like, oh, babe, I wish I could
yeah,
have,
yeah. And I tried,
I
like I did my
tried.
best.
Like you're not
Yeah.
old enough to hear all of the details, but you need
I know. And I
time.
think people have so many. I mean, I hear this in terms of like child spacing. Oh, like I need to have my kids closer. Oh, my little one's gonna grow up so lonely if they don't have a sibling. And all the layers of, we talked about suffering as this sort of we don't want to not transform suffering. Like all of the stories that we put on our own pain that then amplify the pain and turn it into suffering. It's like, who actually said that only children are lonely? Who actually said that there's
Yeah.
this ideal child spacing? Like I think we need to be very aware of the things that we put on ourselves, and it, I'm not saying that you did this at all. I'm saying as I think about my other patients and clients and what I hear, and just like look at your story, like you went through like nearly a decade of fertility treatments. Like I've never heard of so many inseminations. Like truly, I've been doing this for over a decade myself. Like you have the superlative, my friend. Like the most number of
I
inseminations to conceive a
want a
child.
patch for my Girl Scout badge.
I know. And just like thinking about the different phases. And one thing I'd love if you would feel comfortable sharing is like, I think you mentioned that there was like a turning point season in your journey, kind of around the time of all the raw eggs. Like, can you share a little bit, just I think it's clear what kept you going was like your deepest why and this sort of this hope, right? This hope that it would happen eventually. And then, I think, as we go on, it's kind of like Frodo in the ring, like it gets harder and harder. And it sounds like something really shifted for you in terms of welcoming little Isa into your world. If you'd be willing to share, I'd be so grateful.
Yeah. We began to make peace with the possibility of defeat.
Mm,
We began to, grieve in advance and, anticipatory grief of the possibility of not achieving what we hoped to achieve and having our biological child. And we were close friends with many people, of course, who were on a fertility journey, and some of them became families through adoption. And we were over the moon elated for them and, have zero judgment for anybody's path. We cracked the door open. As I described earlier, that was not what was feeling intuitively like our path. But there was a moment of like absolute humility. It was even in that same month of our pregnancy, I believe, where I had the questionnaire paperwork, which is like the first thing you do is write essays about why you want to be a parent, what your philosophy of parenting is, what your childhood was like, things like that. What does it mean to you? And, you know, I don't think I had ever actually been invited to do that, even though I'd been with fertility professionals and therapists too along the way. Um, God, I wish I'd had a fertility coach. uh, but what happened was I began to open that door energetically and not knowing if we would walk through it, but just saying it's not closed. Let us begin to make peace with either being, very involved aunties to our niece, and let us like move forward saying, okay, universe, I don't know what's going to happen here. We have done absolutely everything we can to make this happen. And if it's not in the cards, like, how can we graciously flow with this? Also, let us investigate what it might be like to explore adoption. So, I mean, there's so much lore about the family that adopts a child and then immediately becomes pregnant on their own.
With
And
sperm at home, by the way.
right, with no intervention, just like
Yeah,
the thing that hasn't happened for years and years and years finally effortlessly
right,
happens.
right.
It's annoying lore. Um, and there's some kind of Faustian bargain or something. Like, I will do it. I'll do whatever, Anyway, there was something about that timing that does feel related to me as I look back on it, that there was something about opening to all possibilities that might have unlocked something energetically that was keeping my reproductive function a little bit on lockdown or a little bit impermeable.
Yeah. And thank you so much for sharing that. And we will never know. Although I will tell you, and this is maybe it's my empath nature or the fact that I've seen so many people who are nearly at the end of their fertility journeys and then they decided to consider donor egg or they decided to consider a gestational carrier. And then it happened. Like, and I can't explain it. Like logically, I cannot explain it with any existing science, but I feel it is real to my core. And, I think that, my experience has been that the people who leave the most doors open are the ones where that soul who's supposed to be theirs, that child, comes to them. And your story is so powerful. And I mean, the persistence and the resilience, and I hate that word resilience because it's used against us in medicine, but I mean it in its like most pure form, like the commitment, the passion, the pain, the connection with your wife. Like I think of all when people ask me about this work, I say it is one giant love story, right? So you can look at Issa and be like,
I feel that. Mm.
I loved you so much. Like, and I know she's 11, so maybe there's age appropriate times and things and depth of awareness. I know. Um, but I just think this is just a giant love story, and you were willing and you were open and you did the work on yourself to welcome her in. And so, with all that being said, if there's somebody right now, because I'm so glad that you're on the other side of it and can share the messy middle, because I think so many times it's just like, oh, well, this is my pretty package and this is what happened and it all worked out and it'll work out for you. Like, it's just like this Pollyanna grossness that makes me want to vomit. So, from a very authentic space, my listeners are in the struggle right now, right? So, the negative pregnancy test with the only embryo, the sort of failed inseminations, not knowing what the next step is. And to be
The
clear, I
going
don't
to
think IVF,
freaking baby showers, y'all.
no
Going
kidding,
to
no
your
kidding.
friends' fucking baby showers. How much grace
Seriously,
do we have when we put ourselves in those situations over and over again? I mean,
horrible,
I'm sending
horrible.
you
Yeah,
love and strength. You're not alone. We're like squeezing your hand as your like
yeah.
plastic smile on your face. Like, of course
Uh,
it's appropriate. Also, gutting. It might be a
yeah.
really good day to just say, "Oh, I've got a stomach flu."
Yeah. And all the stupid people at work who keep talking about their pregnancy announcements and like they come back postpartum and they're complaining. Like it is just like this insidious, like it's like the air that we breathe. And so what what can you say from the most authentic space, which is, that's all you do is authenticity, right? Like what words of wisdom do you have for people who are in the thick of it right now?
Don't do it alone.
Mm, mm. Mhm.
Don't be alone with it, because when you're alone with it, you will believe your less helpful thoughts, whether they are about yourself, your partner, your
Mm.
friends, even your clinicians. Like, don't do any of it alone. Um, I'm so grateful there were, like forums and discussion boards. That wasn't the kind of accompaniment I'm talking about, though.
Mhm.
Um, I'm aware that you have a group that
Do
meets weekly,
every other Friday night. Yeah.
every other Friday night.
Yeah.
I, uh, what, what a gift that would have been.
Yeah.
Just like take care of yourself and don't be alone. I, I personally practice so much external sharing that it's probably too much for many people, which I respect.
Mm.
I'm really grateful because a friend who was pregnant would know not to complain about their pregnancy in front of me.
Right.
They
Right.
would they would have known to selectively edit some of that in order to not cause harm. But if people don't know, they
Yeah.
will do those things. Anyway, that's what comes up is
Well,
don't be alone.
yeah. And a lot of people are resistant to a group format because they're like, oh, but I'm a massive introvert. I am your 180. Like I am your yin to your yang. Like I am a massive introvert who's learned to be extroverted to survive in the world. Right. And I sometimes struggle to find the right words. Like, what do I say to that person who is so insensitive? Like, I think for those people who are external processors, like the massive introverts like me have a lot to learn to say, like, what words did you find in that situation? And can I sort of retrofit that to something that might serve my purposes too? And so I think we all have
Mhm.
so much to learn from
Yes,
each other.
that's so
And
right.
yeah, yeah. And I think it's very validating to hear. And I always say, sometimes we even have fuck it Fridays. Like we actually turn the support group into fuck it Friday. And I say, but the point is not just to air the grievances. The point is to say, the only rule is we have to help each other take back each other's power.
I
Like that,
love
that,
it.
that is just like, we're going to air it because it sucks. It sucks so hard sometimes. What we have to say, like, okay, and how are we going to help this person? And how are we going to, and people draw from their own experiences. And it's like so very beautiful. And I think the pain of isolation is just like it's the killer. It's what makes people drop out of treatment. It's what makes people succumb to the judgment of the family members who are the loudest voices in their lives at that point in time. And I think we need to armor ourselves against that. And I really do. I think the support of the community and the healing that happens in the community, it's like nothing I've ever seen before. And I
Yeah.
believe in it fully.
It's like
Yeah.
slipping each other secret notes that have like, some just the right mantra to say when somebody does that. Just like you may not choose to interact directly with the person who's saying an unthoughtful thing, but
Right.
you can soothe yourself,
That's
right?
so
You
true.
can find your own capacity in that moment to remind yourself like the reality is they have no idea that that
That's
is
right.
was painful to me. And I
That's
have
right.
my sisters over here who I can communicate with, who I can like have a WhatsApp group with and say, this just happened. Witness me.
Yeah.
Witness my
Yeah.
pain in this moment because it's not quite right for me to interrupt
No.
their right dialogue.
And we do that. And I think one thing that is so cool about groups is that we bear the suffering together and we also celebrate together. I mean, even this morning, as of the day of this recording, we have someone in our group who went to Paris to arrange some flowers because she's like, screw this. This is not my entire identity. I'm going to do something I love while I'm hanging out and waiting to do another embryo transfer. And so she went to Paris and learned how to arrange flowers. And she sent these stunning pictures of herself with these gorgeous flower arrangements. And anybody who knows me knows I'm obsessed with flowers. And it's just like infertility does not have the last word. Like we celebrate these things and like everyone's like, wow, that is so beautiful. Like I want to do something where I can express myself too. And
Joy.
oh,
Yes,
right.
it is
We all
joy.
become more full humans and it's contagious. And so it comes full circle to joy. It really does. And again, like we do not have to be devoid of joy during the process. If anything, joy is an act of defiance to be like, like infertility does not have the last word. It just
It
doesn't.
is. It is an act of defiance. I am later having a conversation on the podcast with Mary Catherine McDonald, who wrote a book called The Joy Reset. And
Oh,
I am going to just drop that title here for you.
yeah. We'll put in the
Oh,
notes.
it's actually she writes in the preface, this is a dark little book about joy. And it's a lot about like finding tiny little joys and remembering that they're sitting next to all of the crap in your compost heap. Like
That's right.
that is true. Infertility sucks and it's true, but also that tiny little rose that you smelled on your walk this morning, but also that perfect Americano that's sitting next to you right now. But
Yeah,
so, fill in your version of tiny little joys. I'm like, yes, yes, this is true. And it does not negate the rest of this
that's
stuff.
so true. That's so true. Wow. I am going to listen to this episode over and over. And I just know that people, I think, I can talk about compassion. I can talk about, persistence and deepest why and all the things. But when you share your story so vulnerably and generously, there's just something so real and that people can connect with as a physician, as a person who, whose deepest why is to become a parent, like it just it's so beautiful and you did it. Like you have Isa, you have your beautiful wife, you're still practicing. I'm so honored to know you and your story is so very inspiring and thank you for sharing. I know so many people are going to benefit and heal from hearing your story.
I hope so. I am so glad to share it, and I am so happy that it could possibly be of use. Um, yes, I am rooting for all of you, and you are so fortunate whether you are just a listener to the podcast or you're actually in the program or past participant at Love and Science Fertility. Ah, you have stumbled upon such a precious gem and resource. I am in awe that you exist and are doing this work,
Oh,
Erica.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
It's
Thank you. Thank you. May it multiply and ripple out in great waves of
absolutely,
benefit.
may it be so.
Hmm.
So I want to make sure people know where to find you, and I will put this all in the show notes. But please remind us the name of your podcast, your website, like all the things, Dr. Chrissy.
Thank you. The podcast is Solving for Joy, where we talk about both adaptive and maladaptive ways we are continuously trying to solve this equation.
Mhm.
And my other website is joypointsolutions.com, where you can find out about how to work with me as a coach and all the other things. The physiciancoachingsummit.com is the place to learn if you are a physician coach or a physician who coaches, in your institution, it's faculty, like you are coaching or coaching adjacent. This gathering of humans is going to be so precious. So
I
much
will be there.
learning.
I'm putting it out there. I will be there.
I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Cannot
Yeah.
wait to give you a real in
I
real life hug.
know.
Yeah.
Yay. Thank you for being you. And I am so honored to know you, like I said. And this is the third of many beautiful and fruitful conversations, my friend.
Thank you for having me. Thank you all for witnessing this story with kindness and compassion. It is I really hope that it serves.
I know it will. Okay, my friends, until the next time. Thank you for listening to the Love and Science podcast. I'm so glad you joined us today. If you found this conversation valuable, if you could please rate, review, and share this podcast with your trusted people, it would mean so much to me. If you want more tools to help you navigate the fertility journey, please book a discovery call with me today. The link is in the show notes. Please do not let infertility have the final word. I'm here to take the burden from you so that you can achieve your goal of building your family. In gratitude, this is Dr. Erica Bove. I'm rooting for you always.